Well, a pretty interesting look at January 6th last night. Suffice to say, the riot was horrific, and those who instigated it should be prosecuted. The committee, though, is one-sided, and while they communicated evidence, they didn't present all of it. None from the other side of the argument as to who was to blame for this. They wove a narrative, Kevin, that what they are showing us on the screen, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the violent attacks on Capitol Police, was all orchestrated very carefully by Donald Trump himself. Yet all of that evidence was presented by a committee that is 100% made up of political opponents of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was watching this thing to see how it would be presented, this sort of made-for-TV event. And they did a better job than I expected. I did feel they were pushing this narrative on Trump and his responsibility for what happened, felt pushed in the way they put it together. And I'm talking from the way they produced it. But I did not feel that about the new video evidence of what was taking place with all of these people, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, others who were there and showed up and went to the Capitol. And when they got to those gates, they knew that they were not supposed to go beyond those gates. There was Capitol Police right there, and they forced their way through. They pushed their way through. They knocked down officers. They breached that Capitol, and that was clear on that video. And they continued to go on, and they busted out windows and climbed into the Capitol building and opened doors so people could come in. I thought that was important to see, because I think those people all need to be identified and all need to be prosecuted, because what they did was horrible. Joining us now is Roshini Debriefs, who is a political analyst, and she joined us yesterday to talk about what we kind of thought we might see, and now is back to talk about what we did see. Good morning, Roshini. How are you?
Good morning. Yes, lots to dig into with what we saw last night.
Yeah, I felt like it wasn't overproduced. I was expecting it to be really overproduced. I felt it was pushed a little bit, especially at the end. It struck me when they had these guys come on, and a couple of them were from Michigan, and they're like, Donald Trump told me to be here, so I am here for him. And they were referring to a tweet. Now, if you told me that Donald Trump called him on the phone and said, "Hey, Proud Boys, I need you to be here, and I need you to bust through the gates and bust into the Capitol," okay, then you could blame Donald Trump for that. But for their reaction to a tweet, and then presented that way on national TV as if that was gospel, it didn't add up to me. But what was your take?
Right. Well, Kevin, you're absolutely correct. And I'm just telling you, as a licensed attorney, there are rules of evidence. Now, we weren't in a courtroom. They weren't in a courtroom, and we were all watching this on television or various screens. But when you say that there's this 7-step plan that they're going to reveal over the next 5 segments of these hearings, I mean, that's a great teaser. I really want to see what that is. But the lawyer in me says, what's the chain of evidence here? Just because you saw in a tweet and you took that as gospel, that is not the same, as you point out, as the former president of the United States, the time, president, saying to you, yes, go do this. Like, yes, do this, go to this door. These guys will be waiting. This is what we have to be really careful about, Kevin and Tom, because it isn't a narrative that they should be trying to expose here. It's the truth that they should be trying to expose, if that's what, they call it. But we're referring to it as a narrative, and the way the headlines were all over the papers and on social media this morning, it made it sound like this was the declaration based on facts. Whereas really you have to look at this committee, even though it's bipartisan, as a committee of advocates, and they've got a storyline that they want to sell to the American people. We need to remember that. Now, again, I say this with at the same time being critical of some of the behavior of Donald Trump. So I'm not necessarily pro-Trump here, but the lawyer in me needs to remember and help everyone else understand. We have to listen for facts. We have to listen for what did someone actually say, and did they actually act on that, versus something that's just out there, or a narrative that you believe Donald Trump was trying to get across, through the airwaves in some way.
Yeah, I know this was only episode 1, but if I was on the jury, I would have convicted those people who breached the Capitol on trespassing and assault. I would have convicted them on the evidence presented that Donald Trump made them do it. I would have acquitted so far. I think they have a long way to go to make this case in these 7 points.
Yeah, and we have to also remember. I mean, I was watching a lot of this, and also I'm always curious to see the analysis afterward. Kevin, you and I are both former TV reporters. I mean, it is only now as an analyst and talk show host that we can share opinions. When we were reporters, we were supposed to just report what other people said and did. I was seeing network correspondents this morning say, I think this and I think that. No, you're supposed to be reporting what this committee is putting out there or what various actors or characters did leading up to or on January 6th. So I just really want to help people understand and really call out to the American people. You've got to be discerning with what you're watching. And, side note, by the way, Tom and Kevin, this morning I also saw results of a recent PBS poll that says 72% of Americans are more inclined to go to the polls in November because of all these shootings, not because of January 6th. So Tom mentioned yesterday, is this kind of the Democrats, last hurrah to try to get people to the polls? I don't think it's going to be because of the January 6th events or these hearings.
Yeah, this could end up backfiring on them, which it doesn't seem to me that's the intent. I think they want to gather momentum here as we head into the midterms. And, you mentioned, this is not a courtroom, but I don't think most Americans understand that. They see a bunch of people up there who are, most of them at least, if not all, are attorneys. And so Americans might not realize that. They hear the word bipartisan, and they don't realize that none of the so-called deposition-like interviews that we're seeing now in these videos and audio, none of them had a Republican counselor asking the questions. It was all done by anti-Trump representatives and attorneys. So how does that word get out to the American people that this is, by definition, a partisan attempt to essentially, in the court of public opinion, prosecute Donald Trump, if that's what it is?
That seems to be what it is. And again, I, from the get-go, even before he was elected, was very critical of the behavior we saw from Donald Trump and then President Trump. But we have to remember there are rules of evidence that have been established that are used in courtrooms. These are not courtrooms, and you point out very well that a lot of the members of these committees and the questioners are lawyers. They understand that. They're advocates, Tom. They understand that if they push a certain narrative and they make it believable and they use powerful, colorful language, most Americans will take that as fact. And that's kind of what they're counting on. So the other, let's just jump ahead, Futurecast here. I mean, is the end result that a lot of these people on the committee or fellow citizens want to see Donald Trump in jail? I mean, this would be a real sad reflection of our country if we put a former president in prison. So, I mean, that's kind of an image I want to leave people with. I mean, if you check the history books, that really evokes some of the countries, some of those totalitarian regimes that we criticize. Those are the types of countries or regimes that put their former leaders in prison. That is not what the United States is about. So, again, I don't mean to get on this big soapbox, but we have to really think through the steps. And now these next 5 episodes, as Kevin called it, I didn't know there were going to be 6 total episodes. Oh, my goodness.
I know.
Oh, my gosh.
I heard that last night. I thought, how many of these are there going to be? Hey, it's a new summer series on all the networks, except maybe Fox News. Well, Roshini Rajkumar, we appreciate you always coming on the program, a political strategist. Roshini, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.